Hello guys, back again on the Alrasta channel. We will again witness a donghua with a post-apocalypse theme about MCs who can copy other people's skills. And of course it is the First Order. For those of you who haven't seen the previous part, please look at the playlist on my YouTube channel, or click the link in the description. Okay, without lingering, we will go straight to the storyline. Earth today is a very chaotic place. This is because of the nuclear war that occurred 200 years ago that caused humanity to be almost on the verge of extinction. Of course, surviving in this era is very difficult. But despite this, humans can still try to survive in the hope that their situation can gradually recover. In order to defend against the attacks of monsters and mutated beasts, mankind has built a wall of barrier fortresses that, to date, has exceeded 100 fortresses scattered all over the place. Which means that Fort 113 is just one of the many fortresses that humanity has built. Fortress 113 itself is located in the area around the southwest zone, around which there are also several other fortresses. Continuing the previous story, Wang Chongyang, who came with his men to Ren Xiaosu's residence, intends to return to investigate the search for the factory manager's missing firearms. Wang Chongyang will not stop investigating all the houses outside the fort until he finds out who the thief of the firearm is. Xiao Su, wearing a flag with the words Luolan or Boss Luo, did not scare Chongyang at all. And even if Xiao Su wanted to report Chongyang's actions to Boss Luo, it did not matter to him. Because what the civilian soldiers were doing this time was an important task where they had to arrest a criminal. After searching, the soldiers still couldn't find what they were looking for. It also appears that 3 of Chongyang's subordinates who were previously told to silence Xiao Su ended up with terrible injuries. Chongyang considered his 3 subordinates trash for losing to an ordinary citizen. Before leaving Xiao Su's residence, Chongyang, who realized that Xiao Su had potential, offered Xiao Su to become his subordinate. And if Xiao Su was interested in joining the civilian army, then he could join at any time. The next morning, Wang Fugu came to the Xiao Su clinic in a hurry, because he had just received news from Chen Haidong that someone from outside Fort 113 had attacked the fort using superpowers. And now, the people from inside the fort were looking for who the owner of the power was. Wang Fugu himself did not expect that there was a superpower owner who came from this refugee camp. The news conveyed by Fugu made Xiao Su feel a little anxious as he stared at a resident's house. For Wang Fugu himself, if he was a figure who had a super ability, then he would immediately look for a new wife. Wang Fugu said that while gawking at the 2 women who were walking. And he also asked Xiao Su about his opinion regarding the 2 women. According to Xiao Su, the woman in the pink dress had a pretty good style, but her face was lacking. And the other one, although her face looks fierce, her body is quite okay. And while the 2 were discussing the 2 women from another direction, suddenly several civilian soldiers brought by Chen Haidong were seen breaking down a house door, which turned out to be Zhang Baogen's house. After asking Chen's boss, Fugu assumed that Zhang Baogen, who was brought into Fort 113, was now really over. He was arrested because he was found to have awakened superpowers, which we know are super spit guys. This fact was revealed when Baogen exposed his strength right in front of his own friends, and in the end he was even fought by his friends. After Baogen's house was empty, now people were looting the items in the house. It is said that Fort 113 itself has a very strict rule, where for everyone who is known to have awakened superpowers, then that person will be immediately taken into the fort to be investigated further because their existence is considered a threat, if not immediately dealt with. Fugu had also been told by Boss Chen that the captured power owners would be gathered at a holding location, and eventually they would be used as scientific research material there. Today alone, there were 3 people who were detained because they had superpowers. Fugu felt that if they were going to be completely destroyed, soon, including Zhang Baogen. Xiao Su then asked Wang Fugu if the situation was like this. Would he still want to have superpowers? Wang Fugu replied, "Definitely, If he had super abilities, then Fugu would hide them from the outside world. In addition, Fugu also suggested that if Xiao Su or Lu Yuan had superpowers, then both of them should also hide them from outsiders. The scene then switches to Academy 113. As usual as a teacher, Xiao Su did his job of teaching students survival subjects. And as usual, his students did not feel enthusiastic about the lesson at all. They seemed indifferent to the explanation being explained by Xiao Su, and they were even more interested in the noise of the residents coming from outside. Xiao Su, who was annoyed with his students, eventually ended the class and sent them home early. The students who were able to go home earlier than usual were so happy and thanked the teacher sincerely that Xiao Su managed to collect a lot of thank you points from his students unexpectedly. After school, Xiao Su and his brother also saw residents gathered in a place, and after further investigation in a house, Xiao Su saw that there were already several corpses, one of which was the corpse of Zhang Baogan's father, while the rest are the corpses of people who have reported to the fort insiders that Baogan has awakened his superpowers. For this reason, Baogan's father took revenge, and in the end, they all ended up dead. After learning that her son had been arrested and her husband had been killed in an act of revenge, Baogan's mother, who was depressed after losing her beloved family, chose to commit suicide. Xiao Su had no idea that the boy who had previously visited his clinic would have to suffer such a terrible fate. And then not long after, Mr. Zhang also came while scolding the residents who gathered and even gossiped when, in front of their eyes, a terrible tragedy had occurred. Several sentences delivered by Mr. Zhang then made all residents immediately silent. In addition, Mr. Zhang also asked the residents to bury the corpses properly. The residents initially refused, but when Mr. Zhang said he would pay them 800 yuan, they quickly went to bury the bodies. Xiao Su went about his daily routine as usual, staying at the clinic and helping people with problems, as that was his main job. In addition to his main job, he also attended survival classes several times, teaching students about how to survive in the future, giving him the dual title of doctor and teacher. After receiving thank you notes from residents visiting the clinic and his students, Xiao Su has now managed to collect a total of 73 sincere thank you notes. In this side mission, in addition to getting gold coins that can be exchanged for magic items, after completing it, he will also get a reward in the form of a weapon that is still unknown. At one time, when Xiao Su had just finished teaching at his school, Wang Fugu suddenly came in a hurry because he brought news that was not good enough for Xiao Su. Because Fugu had just gotten news that the singer from behind the fort, aka Luo Xinyu, would return to travel on an expedition that had previously stopped halfway. And somehow, the woman managed to convince Luo's boss if Xiao Su was allowed to become a guide on the journey that would be carried out henceforth, causing Xiao Su to inevitably become a guide while passing through the wilderness. After receiving the news, Xiao Su would then return to school, where he asked Mr. Zhang to allow his brother, as well as Li Xiaoyu, to stay at the school for a while. After seeing the previous Baogan incident, Xiao Su realized that the life and death of fringe refugees like them was in the hands of the people from inside the fortress. And if he did not obey the people from inside the fortress to come along on the upcoming trip, Xiao Su was worried that in the future, he would receive a lot of trouble related to the people from inside the fortress. Therefore, he could not refuse to become a guide. Although the wilderness was extremely dangerous, Xiao Su was confident in his abilities. He felt that even though the people who would go with him might die, Xiao Su believed that he would be fine. After hearing Xiao Su's explanation, Mr. Zhang allowed Liu Yuan and Li Xiaoyu to stay at the school for a while, making them now under Mr. Zhang's supervision. And in return, Xiao Su here gave 5,000 yuan to Mr. Zhang. It was to take care of his brother and Li Xiaoyu, but Mr. Zhang refused on the grounds that he was a teacher. So he can't accept money, because what he will take care of is his own student. But Xiao Su is still determined to give the money to Mr. Zhang, and in the end, Mr. Zhang will only accept 1,000 yuan, just to pay for the rent to stay. After meeting with Mr. Zhang, Xiao Su, who returned to his house, immediately packed his brother's clothes and also Li Xiaoyu, who would immediately be entrusted to Mr. Zhang that night. While the clinic problem will be entrusted to Wang Fugu as long as Xiao Su is not there. Xiao Su also reassured his brother, who felt worried, saying that his trip this time was not dangerous. He also promised to return home as soon as possible. And even if the trip was considered very dangerous, Xiao Su also promised to leave them all and run home alone. Because Xiao Su felt that the trip to the wilderness did not really need money, he would leave the money he had with Miss Li Xiaoyu. And here Miss Li Xiaoyu also suggested to Xiao Su to bring some cakes because, according to this woman, finding food in the wilderness is very difficult. However, Xiao Su would not bring the cake because Miss Xiaoyu and his brother needed it more. Besides, with Xiao Su's survival experience during his time in the wild, finding food would not be difficult for him. So not bringing food won't be a big deal. After Xiao Su dropped off his brother and Li Xiaoyu, he went back to the clinic. At that moment, Liu Yuan asked Miss Xiaoyu if he knew the reason why Xiao Su handed over the money to that woman. And she knew that if the money was handed over to Liu Yuan, it would certainly jeopardize Liu Yuan's position. In addition, Miss Xiaoyu also assured Liu Yuan that she would not run away with the money and leave Li Yuyan alone. And sure enough, the next morning at Ren Xiaosu's residence was visited by Xin Yu along with Wang Chongyang. Together with that, Xiao Su also received a mission asking him to refuse to go to Mount Jingsan as a guide. And ridiculously, Xiao Su even acted like a mentally disturbed person who sang incoherently. Wang Chongyang, who knew that the boy was pretending, immediately approached him. And at the same time, before Chongyang explained the purpose of his arrival, Xiao Su said if he refused to leave, causing the mission he got to be completed easily. And as a reward, Xiao Su obtained a skill learning paper.
我不去。
任务完成。
你不去怎么？我去。
可学习他人能力。
In order for Xiao Su to go as a guide into the jungle, it was ultimately the singing lady who had to intervene. This woman said that Xiao Su was required to go, and he could not refuse, because Boss Luo has given permission for this. And if Xiao Su still insists on refusing to leave, then he will soon lose his residence, aka this clinic. And even he could no longer be accepted to be able to stay in the city behind the fort. Casually, Xiao Su will also accept the offer to become a guide, but he has several conditions. One of which is that the payment he must receive is 30,000 yuan. If this amount is considered too much, Jinyu can pay the MC as much as 10,000 yuan, but the rest must be replaced with basic necessities, such as 10 bags of salt, 10 cigarettes, and 100 kilograms of rice. Where the basic necessities mentioned by Xiao Su are very rare items. Because it was very difficult to get, the lady finally agreed to 30,000 yuan only. In addition, there was another condition, where Xiao Su did not want Wang Chongyang to come along on their trip, and Luo Xinyu also agreed to that one request.
可以，王松阳，你回去吧。
其实你有点意思，你也不想去，对吗？
The expedition to bring Luo Xinyu to Fort 112 will be carried out on the same day. Because during the trip they will be teammates, Xiao Su here took the initiative to ask everyone to get to know each other before their departure. On Xiao Su's words, a proud-looking man named Liu Bu said that he did not want to get acquainted with Xiao Su, who was considered just a guide instead of a partner. Not long ago, a second lieutenant soldier named Xu Xianchu also appeared, and he was the one who would replace Wang Chongyang Dan as the leader in this expedition. Trying to make a face, Liu Bu immediately introduced himself as the agent of the singer Luo Xinyu. In the other direction, Yang Xiaojin, the woman with the hat who is a friend of Luo Xinyu, and Ren Xiaosu, who will be the travel guide, are also introduced. And after getting to know each other, they set off. Unfortunately, here Xiao Su was not allowed to enter the car by Liu Bu, who felt that the MC was too dirty and smelly. That's why Xiao Su will be placed at the back of the car. Ridiculous clown this one, guys. And finally, they took off. The scene moves to the school, where we are shown Liu Yuan, who is feverish. And of course, this is because he has just used his superpowers in the hope that his brother will be fine during the trip. In fact, the burden that the younger brother has to bear will be quite heavy because his brother's journey is very dangerous. Because then there will be creatures that are very feared by humans in this era and dispel Xiao Su's journey, and they are wolf packs. Xiao Su, who at that time was stationed at the back of the pickup car, was idly opening the supplies brought by the expedition team, and there he found several boxes of food. Not long after, the expedition team stopped midway. They would then stay here for a while to rest and eat before returning and continuing their journey. When Liu Bu intended to take the food supplies to be distributed to the mercenaries, he was unexpectedly stunned when he saw Xiao Su, who was casually eating cake. Moreover, Xiao Su here had already eaten 5 packs, even though their journey had just begun. And with his innocent face, Xiao Su here replied that it was Liu Bu's own fault for not allowing him into the car. At the same time, Xiao Su here started to feel a strange feeling, and it was because Xiao Su felt like pooping. Xiao Su, who said that he wanted to go for a quick bowel movement while the mercenaries were eating, made the mercenaries' appetites become reduced. After witnessing Xiao Su's actions of eating too much of the food supply, even though they had not gone too far, one mercenary felt that Xiao Su should be placed in the car. He was afraid that if Xiao Su was still placed in the back of the car, then their food would soon be consumed by him. Because Liu Bu didn't want Xiao Su to be in his car, Xiao Su was eventually planned to get into the soldier's car. And of course, when he returned after finishing defecating, Xiao Su was forced to get into the car by the mercenaries. Yet here, Xiao Su still wanted to stay at the back of the car with the cookies, and thus the journey continued. During their journey, Liu Bu also suggested to Miss Xin Yu that they replace Xiao Su with another guide. Since they hadn't gone too far yet, Liu Bu felt that they still had time to make a U-turn and change their guide. However, the lady insists that there is no guide that can take them through Jingsan Mountain other than Xiao Su, so they don't need to replace him. However, Liu Bu still thinks that Xiao Su is a person with bad behavior, which makes him unsuitable as a guide. He also believes that there are more suitable people to serve as their travel guide, and he thinks there are more suitable people, and they can recruit a guide from someone from the 6 factories in the city. But Miss Xin Yu again denies Liu Bu's words, because for her, there is no one else in the city who is suitable to serve as a guide on this dangerous journey. And if Liu Bu does have a personal problem with Xiao Su, the lady says that Liu Bu can do anything to Xiao Su after they arrive at the 112 fortress.
112B 了回来，你想怎么处理他都可以。
We switch to another car, where Xiao Su is now sitting between 2 burly private mercenaries. Here, Xiao Su is being scolded because he has just used up too much food. One soldier said that Xiao Su should not hit a stone with an egg. This is an idiom that is often used by Chinese people. The mercenary also asked Xiao Su who would be destroyed first when the egg collided with the stone. And with his Nylene answer, Xiao Su also said that what would be destroyed first was the mother hen's heart because she had to lose her eggs. After a long journey and entering the wilderness, the expedition team then stopped at a location designated by Liu Bu as the location for their camping. While camping at that place, they were allowed to eat and rest because it was getting dark. After hearing the word eat, Xiao Su then rushed to the food supply to get some food. However, Liu Bu did not allow Xiao Su to get food on the grounds that Xiao Su did not get food and water rations during this expedition, so Xiao Su was required to find his own food. Xiao Su then left because for him, finding food in the forest was not a big problem. Before Xiao Su went far, Liu Bu also said that the previous guide died because he went alone into the forest, but Xiao Su did not seem to care about the man's babbling. At the same time, there was a shout from a mercenary who found a large animal footprint, whereas in the previous trip, the footprint was not in this place. After investigating further, Xiao Su also stated that it was a footprint from a bear that came because they were attracted by the remnants of food left by their team during the previous expedition. And with that, Xiao Su walked back into the forest alone, ignoring Liu Bu's ramblings.
也可能是野猪吧。
这小子胆子也太大了吧！不要命了吗？
Not long after, he began to feel a mysterious movement from another direction that made him a little wary and prepared his bone knife. Eventually, the figure revealed itself, and it turned out to be a wild animal, a deer with a larger than average body size. Because deer are herbivores that would never prey on him, Xiao Su felt calm, and then he resumed his search for food. Xiao Su next encountered cockroach-sized ants that were flying around the nest area. And here Xiao Su took the insect larvae queen that he would make as bait for fishing, and also prepared equipment for fishing with wooden branches that he found in the forest. And of course, Xiao Su was able to get the fish quite easily, which was easy because Xiao Su already had enough experience to survive in the wild. When Xiao Su threw the larval queen inside the fish's body into the river, that's when he started to feel an unpleasant feeling. Not wanting to take any risks, Xiao Su eventually left the river. At night, Xiao Su, who managed to get a score of fish, made the mercenaries start to feel jealous because they could only eat instant noodles. Meanwhile, Xiao Su actually eats meat, which of course meat is a food that is quite difficult to obtain. And after Xiao Su's grilled fish is cooked, a mission appears, which contains that Xiao Su here must give or share good things with others. To complete his mission, here Xiao Su went in the direction where Liu Bu, the arrogant man, was. He came while offering the man the fish he had grilled. Liu Bu, who felt confident, immediately grabbed the fish held by Xiao Su. But Xiao Su immediately pulled it back because what he wanted to give to the man was not the grilled fish, but the happiness he felt after getting a good meal. And with that, the mission was declared complete. And in return, Xiao Su here is given an agility upgrade. Xiao Su's actions this time certainly made Liu Bu very annoyed. But before the man got angry, Xiao Su immediately said that he would exchange some of the fish for 3 bottles of water. And Liu Bu immediately agreed without thinking. Here, Liu Bu offered the fish he got to the other mercenaries. But unfortunately, because of this behavior, in the end, he didn't even get the slightest part because the mercenaries were too greedy and, without warning, immediately flocked simultaneously to attack some of the grilled fish. While Xiao Su was enjoying some of the grilled fish that he now had all to himself, the lady in the hat, Yang Xiaojin, appeared at the same time. She came to Xiao Su because she wanted to ask for some of his grilled fish. After Xiao Su gave her a serious look, in the end Xiao Su immediately grinned while saying that he would give Xiaojin 2 bites. Xiao Su here couldn't refuse because he was pointed at a gun by the woman. To get a better taste of the 2 bites she had, Miss Yang Xiaojin then sprinkled some salt that she had brought with her. Miss Yao Jin also asked her partner to eat with her. Liu Bu, who was feeling confident, immediately came towards the two. But unfortunately, it was not him that Miss Xiao Jin invited, but Luo Xin Yu, the singer lady.
你回去。
In this case, Miss Xin Yu did not want to get the food that Xiao Su had for free. Hence, she would give Xiao Su 2 bites of chocolate as an equal exchange. But who would have thought that the 2 packets of chocolate that Xin Yu gave directly to Xiao Su could easily be devoured in 1 bite by Xiao Su? So here, the lady Xin Yu owes Xiao Su another bite and makes her take another chocolate bar from her car, which she then gives to Xiao Su. But who would have thought? Here, Xiao Jin is applying Xiao Su's trick, where she opens her mouth wide to get 1 big bite of Xiao Su's grilled fish. And from here, we learn that this beautiful woman in the hat has the same silliness as the MC, guys.
真吗？
巧克力不要放在身上，会化。
As the night wore on, it was time for the expedition team to rest before their journey the next day. After finishing his meal, Xiao Su then placed the bones of the grilled fish into banana leaves. And after wrapping it up, Xiao Su then threw the garbage into the forest area. Since Xiao Su didn't get a camping tent either, he had to make his own bed, where he used the leaves around the forest area and arranged them in such a way next to the fireplace that he created a comfortable bed for himself.
喂，也不给我留点地方。
Before going to bed, Xiao Su had also noticed that Miss Xiao Jin was sleeping, but she was very vigilant, with the woman still holding her gun. So if there was anything wrong, this woman could immediately anticipate it. The next morning, Xiao Su, who had gone back into the forest, found that the fish bones he had previously thrown into the forest had strangely disappeared. Even though they had not yet entered the territory of Mount Jingshan, Xiao Su had already discovered some irregularities around the jungle, which proved that this place was really very strange, mysterious, and also dangerous. During the pre-departure preparations, Xiao Su, who was cleaning up, was noticed from the other direction by Miss Xin Yu, who was looking at Xiao Su. But when Liu Bu arrived, she immediately got into the car and the journey continued. During their journey, one mercenary wondered why Xiao Su chose to stay away from the river area, even though the fish in the river could not jump and bite them. Here, Xiao Su did not explain the threat that he had previously seen around the river area to the mercenaries. And that's when the driver suddenly braked suddenly. He did this not without reason, because in the middle of their journey, there was a large deer blocking the road. The presence of a large deer was considered a threat, and made the mercenaries take the initiative to prepare their weapons and prepare to open fire. But before that happened, Xiao Su first advised them not to act rashly and opened fire on the deer. And then 2 fawns appeared. And what everyone witnessed made them feel calm, because it turned out that the herbivore did not attack and was also not considered a threat to their lives. However, when everyone could let out a long sigh from the other direction, the deer gave an increasingly sharp stare. And among everyone, only Xiao Su was aware of it. And of course, unexpectedly, the moose ran straight towards the car driven by the car carrying Xiao Su. Although the driver was able to avoid the attack swiftly, it resulted in their car being damaged, and it ended with the car behind him having to take the brunt of the deer's attack. After shaking the car by the deer, The car eventually fell into the ravine after being thrown and lifted by the deer. After releasing one car into the ravine, the deer simply left along with its children.
快救人啊！
In this incident, the expedition team lost one car. One car was damaged as well as several mercenaries who had to suffer injuries where they were the ones who had to roll over, falling into the ravine. Liu Bu then brought Xiao Su, who was considered a doctor, to treat the injured mercenaries. After observing the patient's condition, Xiao Su then raised his hand and unexpectedly pulled out an internal force and also a spell that he casually called to help the patient. This, of course, made Liu Bu feel very annoyed because of Xiao Su's behavior. After checking the damaged car, the leader of the expedition team, Shu Xianchu, then found that the car could still function. But unfortunately, the other car that fell into the ravine was no longer usable, and all he could do was take spare parts from the car to repair the damaged car. So in order to continue the journey, some people who did not get a vehicle will be placed in another pickup car. While the mercenaries were making repairs, in the other direction, Xiao Su noticed Miss Xiao Jin.
再有这种动物出来，马上就开枪。哟。
On the other hand, there were also some mercenaries having a conversation where one mercenary said that he could have killed the deer in one shot if he had not reacted too late. But one of them replied that it was very dangerous, especially if the shot missed. Joining the conversation, Shu Xianchu also thought that there was no one in their team who could take down the moose in one shot. Of course there was, and that was Miss Xiao Jin. But no one knew about her shooting ability except Xiao Su. Zhu Xianchu here also advised the mercenaries not to attack herbivorous animals, but when they saw carnivorous animals, they could shoot them immediately. After the car was repaired, adjustments were made to the distribution of places for people. Here, Liu Bu asked the mercenaries named Suxia and Cheng Donghang to go to the pickup car. And this is where the strangeness happened again when the mercenary named Suxia intended to get on the car. But suddenly the man immediately fell, and his body began to experience convulsions, foaming at the mouth until he finally died just like that without knowing the origin of the cause of why he lost his life. Cheng Donghang, who was next to the victim, also did not know what had happened to Suxia at that time. Liu Bu, who looked dumbfounded after seeing the incident, then began to blame Ren Xiaosu. He blamed him because Xiao Su was considered to have taken the wrong path, and as a guide, he had caused a mercenary's life to be lost. Xiao Su, who did not want to be pointed at, immediately twisted the hand of the arrogant man in front of him and pushed him towards the back. Xiao Su here also emphasized that the wilderness is inherently a very strange and mysterious place. Xiao Su doesn't know what the expedition team's purpose and intentions are for going through Jingshan Mountain, but one thing he does suggest to everyone is that if they really don't want to lose their lives, then now is the best time to return to the refuge of Fort 113. And that's the ending of the Donghua, the First Order series in Part 3 this time, guys. Thank you for those of you who have watched until the end. And for those of you who like this content, don't forget to activate notifications so you don't miss the next update, guys. And that's all from me. Bye.